All right, everybody, welcome to another version of another Front Office Rocks webinar. We're super excited you're here. This has been a highly requested webinar that we're about to do. If you don't know me already, I'm Laura Hatch, and I'm the founder and owner of Front Office Rocks. We do online front office training, everything from answering the phones to getting patients to show up, scheduling, all that fun stuff we do in the dental front office. And I am here with a super good friend of mine. We've been friends for quite a few years now, Dayna Johnson. And Dayna is the founder and owner of Novonee, plus has an extensive dental background. And we have been asked multiple times to have her on to talk about Dentrix, our other favorite software that we use in many dental offices. So Dayna, welcome to our webinar.
Thank you, Laura. I'm super excited to be here. Thanks for inviting me. And it looks like we're going to have a great webinar today, and lots of attendees are showing up in the webinar. So super excited. Thank you for having me.
Exactly. So I'll go over some housekeeping things and then I'll let you kind of take over. For those that are watching this live, there is a chat function on the right-hand side of the software that we're using. I'm going to be monitoring the chat for Dayna because I know there's going to be a ton of questions coming in. Dayna she's going to go over with us the 10 things in Dentrix that's underused or you need to know about, right?
Yes.
And so that's a lot to go over in an hour. So I'm going to be monitoring the chat. And if there's a question pertaining to something that she's talking about, I'll definitely ask her live. But we're going to give you our contact information at the end. Also, Dayna and I are both here to help. We know what it's like to run dental offices and try to make the software work. So we will not let any questions be unanswered for sure. So use the chat on the side, like I said. Dayna, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll let you get going in Dentrix.
Sounds good. And so am I sharing my screen at this point?
You are. We can see your screen. Yep.
Okay, perfect. So for those of you that also don't know, Laura and I were voted into the top 25 women in dentistry in the same year. So that was exciting. We share that honor together. I've been a certified Dentrix trainer for over 12 years. I actually started using Dentrix in my own practice in 2003. And, you know, when I converted to Dentrix, many of you have transitioned from another practice management software to Dentrix or to something new. And it can be challenging for sure. Conversions are hard. Yeah. And, you know, when I had my first, couple days of training, we barely scratched the surface, and I knew that there was so much more to learn. And so in 2006, I became a certified Dentrix trainer, really just to learn the software better. I mean, that was really my main reason to becoming a certified Dentrix trainer. But over time, what I started doing was training in offices and starting to consult offices on going paperless. And I mean, I just fell in love with going into offices and training, and I just love what I do. So I've been doing that for 12 years. And then I started Novonee a couple of years ago so I could actually reach more people. And because, there are, 30,000 Dentrix users in the world. And so I just wanted to be able to reach more people. And so it's been so fun. It's just been fantastic.
What is Novonee, just so everybody knows?
So Novonee actually started out being an online community for Dentrix users. So what I find is, I get hundreds of emails a month, probably like you do. And people are always asking a lot of the same questions, but sometimes, new topics. And so what I thought I would do, instead of using Facebook, because Facebook can sometimes just be kind of just random, And I wanted it to be more high level. I wanted it to be more condensed into Dentrix users that were really interested in learning and not just, complaining or, just scratching the surface. And so we do a couple webinars a month, similar to, you do in your Front Office Rocks. We do webinars and live events, and we have a forum so people can ask questions. We're all in there to help each other, and Dentrix users from all over the country can come into Novonee and just ask questions, and we all learn from each other. And so I learn things every day from my Dentrix users, so it's really fun.
That's awesome. And I find that's true. Anytime you go in a dental office and you go to different people, we all get to different things different ways, and we have different processes. Yeah. So we're always learning. All right, great.
and each office is unique, you know, so we have to really kind of identify what the needs are for the practice. But, you know, so as I started training, I was finding that there were some really amazing features in Dentrix that people just didn't even know existed. Or they're like, yeah, I've heard about that, but I'm not really using it. I don't know how it works. I just don't have time to learn it or whatever. And so, you know, I kind of identified these top 10 things that offices just either don't know about, they don't know it existed, or they just don't know where to start using it, or how and why it would even fit into their protocols or daily routines. And so this is the list. You can see it on your screen. This is the list we're going to go through. I do have a full article that I can send out to everybody that gives a little bit more details about each of the items. And so we're going to switch over to my Dentrix software. And, you know, here's my contact info if anybody wants to reach out to me after the webinar. I know we'll go back over this at the end as well. So I'm going to switch over to Dentrix at this point. So,
all right, we're going to go ahead and turn off our screens too. You guys don't need to look at us. You guys want to look at Dentrix. So
yeah, I'll shut my video off.
There we go. So we're going to let Dayna go through the Dentrix. She's going to show us stuff. And again, there's her contact information. I know she's available to help at any point after this. So once you watch this, if you have more questions, please do that. All right, Dayna, right now, we'll see your PowerPoint.
Okay, good. You can see my screen. Everybody can see my screen?
I can see your PowerPoint on your screen. I can't see Dentrix at this point.
Oh, you should be able to see Dentrix at this point.
Well, you gotta
love
technology.
Shut. I know.
It's like when you walk in and your server's not working.
Oh, I know what I have to do. I think I have to tell it new share. All right, there we go. I did do a new share. There we go. How's that?
There we go. We're good to go now. Okay, good. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, perfect. So just so everybody knows, I do have Dentrix G7 running on my computer. So I am on the latest version of Dentrix. So if you are still working with Dentrix G5 or you're now on 6.2 or 6.6, some of the things you see may look a little different, but the top 10 things we're going to look at today have been around for a long time. And so that's why I think it's important to tell everybody about these features, because they've been around for so long. So the first thing I want to talk about, number one on the list, is quick letters and letter merge. And the reason I think this is an underutilized feature is because I think it's great for if you're doing a welcome letter to a patient. I think it's great if you're doing a collection letter. And the nice thing about the quick letters, this is the icon here for quick letters. If you're a right clicker, you can always right click and go to quick letters right here. But quick letters is a way that you can merge patient information into a custom letter. And so, for example, if you wanted to build a blank letter, you can, click on Build View, and it launches your Microsoft Word software, and then you have a custom letter. See how it pulled in your practice information, it pulled in the patient's custom address and information, and then you could start typing a letter. Hello, Larry. So these can be used for custom letters. Collection letters is great. Anytime you're using this feature, make sure that you don't save the letter, because it will override the merge field. But you'd want to print it for the patient in the first, for the first thing, and then make sure that you don't save, and you don't want to override your merge fields. But so that's the cool thing about letter merge, and then our quick letters. And then our letter merge feature is on the Office Manager, and this has even more letters available to it. So you could do birthday letters, continuing care. I know a lot of practices still these days are still doing postcards out of their practice, and so this is where you would also find the custom postcards. So I think that's the first underutilized feature in Dentrix. Number two on the list is Oh, another thing I just want to say about quick letters is you can also add your own letters in here. I mean, everything in this list comes from the Dentrix default letters. And I mean, you could come in here and add your own letter. You can click new, or you can edit the letter. You can open the template of the letter and edit, like if you wanted to take this collection letter and edit the template, you could certainly do that and edit the template of the letter. So there's lots of customization you can do there. If you want a tip sheet on how to use the quick letters, just drop me an email and I'll send that to you.
That's great.
Number two, yeah, because sometimes it can be a little confusing how to add a brand new letter. So I have a tip sheet on how to do that. And then if you want to put that in your resources too, Laura, I can send it to you directly.
Okay, perfect, great.
The number 2 on the list is Dentrix Mobile. And Dentrix Mobile, I can't go in and show you Dentrix Mobile because I'm working in a tutor database. I don't have a live patient database in here. Dentrix Mobile is a feature that allows the doctors or maybe a team member to remote in or log into their patient database. So they could check on a patient's prescription history. So for example, let's say the doctor is on vacation or he's out playing golf on the weekend and he gets an emergency call from a patient and he wants to really double check that this is a patient of his and that he wants to check their last appointment date, check their prescription history. So the doctor can use Dentrix Mobile right from their mobile phone or from a tablet to get information about their patient, before they call them back and make sure they have a little bit of information about who they are.
What's the setup for that? Is it pretty easy to get it set up? Because I know we had that option in the past too, and I think it's getting better and better. Is it pretty easy to set up for an office?
Yeah, so what they have to do, it's all included in their customer support plan.
Okay.
All the doctor has to do is do a quick register from the Dentrix website or call the e-services department, and they'll get them registered with a user ID and password. And then you also can give other team members their own unique user ID and password as well. And then the newest information that I just got over the weekend is they are building a app, Android and iPhone app for Dentrix Mobile, and that should be released here shortly.
That would be great.
I know, for sure. That's just going to be fantastic when we have an app for that. But I didn't get a time frame on it, but it's coming soon. So the next feature that I want to talk about is is payment agreements. And I did this on when I did the last webcast I did for the Kirk Barrett Best Practices show. We talked about cash flow, and so what I wanted to tell you is that I'm not against payment plans. What I am against is the patient dictating the terms of the payment plan. And what I want offices to do is set up an agreement with their patient. If they are going to allow the patient to make payments, I think it's extremely important that the office set the terms of the payment agreement and be able to track it on a report, be able to assess late fees if the patient is late for their payment, get the patient to sign the agreement, and so they have a signed payment plan agreement. And so I think it's important that if you are a practice and you're listening in, that you do allow patients to make payments. Even if the patient is going to make payments over a 3-month period of time, I think it's important that you get that payment agreement into the computer. And so if you see here, there's this payment agreement manager in Dentrix, and there's also the billing payment agreement, the handshake. So if you're not yet up on Dentrix G7 or 6.6, you might not have this payment agreement manager yet, but you should have the handshake because that's been around forever. And most offices don't use the payment agreements. And I think it's because, you know, I think a lot of offices just say, you know, we never do payment agreements. And it's like, you know what? I think you probably do. You just have to get them into the computer.
Right.
Yeah. Wouldn't you agree? I think more offices do payment agreements more than they think they do.
Yeah, it's almost like non-written, but I mean, there are patients who you do it with, and I think I agree with you. You need to have something documented so you know.
Yeah, exactly. And so with the payment agreement, you know, you put in your terms, you can print a truth in lending statement and get the agreement in the computer. And the other cool thing about the payment agreement is that it will show up when you go to work your accounts receivable. You know, so when you go to the office manager and you go use your collection manager, then your payment agreements are going to show up on your collection manager report. So you can actually track them. So if you, let's make sure that we've added those into this
And you
payment
mentioned,
agreement.
while you're looking at that, you mentioned the lending, the payment and lending. What was it that you called it? That's what you need signed, right? If you're actually going to let people make payments.
Yeah, a truth in lending statement. Yeah, because if you are allowing the patient to make payments, you are technically lending the patient money. And, you know, so you have to protect your practice just like a bank would. And so it's important that you get them to sign an agreement. Now, I'm going to take it one step farther and say, I would always have a credit card on file. And so that way you're not actually managing these payment plans manually. You can just set up, put a credit card on file. So then it automatically runs the credit card through automatically. So now in this new Dentrix payment agreement manager, we can now store credit cards on file. I can't store a credit card on file because I don't have a merchant agreement here, but you can put the agreement note, you can put in their credit card information in here, store their credit card, and that's available in G7. So I think that is an important feature that is underused, and it's extremely important to manage those payment plans.
And we have somebody in here who says that they work in that area too. They think it's great. They said also that there's a calculator for monthly payments prior to making an agreement.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So that's great. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
Now, is that only if you use Dentrix Pay? Somebody wants to know.
Yes, that's correct. Dentrix Pay was launched in Dentrix G6.6, and so if they are using PowerPay previously, Dentrix Pay is going to be taking over for PowerPay. And yes, Dentrix Pay is now the new merchant integrated payment solution for Dentrix, and that's where we'll be able to store credit cards on file legally, which is going to be awesome. I mean, we've never been able to do that before. So, you know, when you open up your payment agreement and you have Dentrix Pay, you're going to have a little button down here in the payment window that says use credit card on file or store credit cards. So those features are available in Dentrix G7.
And you knew the question was going to come up. So before you go on to the next one, because I know you're up to number 4, but there's questions about, are there any glitches upgrading to G7 from G6? Is there anything anybody should be concerned about if they haven't done that yet?
Great question. So currently G7 was just released, and to be perfectly honest, I only have new offices on G7. I have not had a current existing office upgrade from G6 to G7 yet. So I don't have any information yet in as to how the upgrade is going. But
I would suggest you're part of a Dentrix users group, right, on Facebook?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I would suggest maybe asking the question there, because there's probably offices who've been through it and can tell you any issues, correct?
Yeah, I mean, and anytime you're doing an upgrade, it's going to, you know, affect the strain on the network, on the hardware. So, you know, you definitely want to make sure that your hardware requirements meet or exceed the recommended hardware requirements, and that you don't have anything in your network or software that could conflict with the upgrades. So that's really important to do first. Do those proactive things first before you upgrade.
Yeah, invest in this. I mean, the network runs everything for you, so you want to make sure that you have what you need. There's a question about the payment agreement sheet. When they print it, is there a way to add a signature for the patient and the employee that presented the treatment?
I wish there was. It kind of cracks me up that they didn't put a signature line on that Truth in Lending. So whenever I show that to people, I always just say, you know, print it out and just have them sign at the bottom of it, and then you can scan it into your document center.
Right. Okay. And we got oh man, everybody wanted that. All right.
I know. I agree with you. It's kind of funny that there's no signature line on there.
I know, right? Okay, great. Yeah. So that's perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So number 4, and this will also, if there's anybody online today with us that's a specialist, you'll love this one. This is tracking gratuities and referrals. So hopefully everybody online with us today is tracking their patient referrals, so they know how their patients are finding their office. And, you know, we do that here on the family file. We enter in how the patient was referred to our office. So in this situation that we're looking at, Larry was referred by his orthodontic office. Maybe his kids go to Dr. Mark, and he was referred by his kid's orthodontist. So if you go into this analysis button right here, if I could pull up the little drawing tool, isn't that kind of cool right here? See that analysis button? So if you do that, then you can see the analysis for this whole, this referral source. And so you can see that Dr. Mark Tyler has referred 2 patients to this practice. And you can also see the production that has been brought in from that referral source. And then you can also track their gratuities. So for example, if you're going to add a new gratuity and you're going to give him a Applebee's gift card, you know, for $50, or maybe he's a really good referral, you're going to give him a $100 gift card to Applebee's. It's like, woohoo. Then you can also see that in the gratuity analysis. So you can see kind of tracking it chronologically, what kind of incentives or thank yous that you have given to Dr. Mark Tyler over the past. It also adds that gratuity information to Dr. Mark Tyler's office journal. So anybody online that's online with us today, you probably know, if you've been following me at all, you know how much I love the office journal. But not only does every patient have an office journal, but every team member has an office journal, and all your referral sources have an office journal. So you can see here on Dr. Mark Tyler, he's received a couple of gratuities for his referrals of new patients to this practice. So I think this is definitely one of the underutilized tools in Dentrix, especially for you specialists out there. This is a really great feature that you can use to track your referral sources.
And I would have to say what I find, not even with Dentrix, but just in general, that I think it's important, if you're not putting the data in, you can't track it. And referral sources are a huge thing that I don't think gets tracked very well, but you can see the benefit of it. But you have to make sure that your team is trained on why we want to make sure we track this. What's the importance behind it? Because it's just one more thing we have to put in. But if we're not putting it in, then we're not able to track the data. So I find that being an area that doesn't get utilized as much as it could be.
Exactly. You know, what Laura said, if you don't enter it in the computer, it's not trackable. And, you know, I think for the office's marketing budget, it's really important to know where your referrals are coming from. And because you may be putting money into, you know, a Valpak ad, and you're not even getting any referrals from it. So it's super important.
Yeah, completely. I think referred by, referred to, all of that, they're in there for a reason. But if we don't train, one of the big things that I think is you have to train the new employees from the beginning as they're entering information, the importance of every part of the patient file and what we put in there, because it just becomes a habit of skipping some of those fields. And then later we don't have the data that we want and need.
Exactly. So it's super important. So I'm going to go back to the area where kind of in our number 3 was, our number 1 was quick letters. I'm just going to go back in here. I'm going to do like a collection letter for this patient. I'm just going to do a build view. Well, actually, I'm just going to do a new patient welcome letter. I know a lot of you aren't doing letters because you're doing a lot of email and things like that, but sometimes it's nice to still get a letter from your dentist. And also we have to remember that not every patient in your database has email capabilities. So, you know, sometimes it is still nice to send out a letter. So you'll notice here that my quick letter launched all of Larry's address information. It also put in, you know, when his appointment date was, so it's really great. But what I want to show you is, which is number 5 on our list, is sending to the Dentrix Document Center. And so any of the practices that are online with us today who are paperless, you're putting a lot of information into the Document Center. And so I think this is also an underutilized feature that you may not know exists, is when you go to print. So for Larry, I'm going to print this letter to the printer so I can send a copy to Larry, but I'm also going to I'm going to send one to the Dentrix Document Center. Can everybody see that in the list there?
Yeah,
so
I see that there.
Part of Dentrix is it loads a printer driver into your system so you can send something to the Dentrix Document Center. So when I click print, it's going to do a virtual print, so you don't really see anything happen, really. But what it does is it actually goes to the Document Center. So if I now open up Larry's Document Center, which is the big brown file cabinet, then I can go into this icon right here. It's called the Unfiled Documents. And this is where my document, here's my letter that I just sent off to Larry. And now I'm going to attach it to his Document Center. And so you'll notice here that I've done no scanning whatsoever.
So nice. Truly paperless.
I know. So it's truly paperless. So now you can see here that just with a couple clicks, I've taken that Word document and saved it into Larry's Document Center without printing and scanning it into the system.
So Dayna, I was going to say, I'm curious to what like we just said, a lot of us work with different services, RevenueWell or different companies that send emails. What is your preference of when a letter would go? Besides the fact, for the ones that don't have email, of course, we send letters. What other letters do you still like that get sent from the dental office, or do you suggest being sent, a real letter versus an email?
I always send a real letter when I do like a final collection letter, which I send after 90 days. And then I also will send a patient reactivation letter, which I would send after like 12 or 18 months since the last time they've been in the office. So those are 2 letters I definitely use.
Awesome. And we have a request. Can you show us again one more time what you did with the printing that to the Document Center?
Yep. So if we, just for example, we're going to use the Dentrix Quick Letter here. I'm going to send it to Microsoft Word. So it launches Microsoft Word, puts in all his custom information. Then I can go to print. And make sure you select your printer. So you send to Dentrix Document Center printer, click print, and it does a virtual print. Now I can close this down. I'm just not going to save it. I go to the document center. And then it's going to be sitting here in this unfiled documents folder. And so here's my custom letter. And then all I have to do is click on this attach to Larry. And then it wants to know which folder I should put that letter in. So I'm just going to put it here in correspondence.
So do all unfiled documents end up in that unfiled document area?
Yes. Anytime you use the Send to Dentrix Document Center, it's going to sit in that unfiled documents folder.
So I would recommend, or I would think you suggest that anybody who's doing that, go ahead right away and put it into the right patient folder. Yeah, otherwise it's just going to be sitting there and get clogged up like many other areas.
Exactly, you got it.
Okay, good. We have somebody who asked about what letter would you recommend to send for reactivation, and is there one in Dentrix, or would you suggest they fabricate one?
I have a custom letter. Yeah, I have a custom letter that I use. I could send it to Laura. She could put it up in her resource center, or if you email me directly, I'll send you a copy of it.
Perfect. Yeah, and we have one too. So, and you definitely, I think the ones that come out of all of our practice management softwares are good, but I think anytime you send a letter, it's nice if it's somewhat personalized to your practice. You know,
I agree with you.
Otherwise it feels like it's just a form letter like we get from the banks and credit card companies.
Exactly. Definitely, I agree. It has to be a custom letter. So even though, you know, Dentrix comes with all of these sample letters, I would definitely customize them so that it sounds like it's coming from your practice. The messaging sounds like it's coming from your practice. So you can go into these quick letters and go into this collection notification, click on edit the template, because the letter is already there. Just edit the template and then, you know, customize all of this, content. Make sure that you leave all these merge fields alone. So you'll notice that these are all merge fields, and this is a merge field. Make sure that you don't touch those, but you could edit all this content in here. And then you can make the letter sound like it's coming from your practice.
That's great.
Yep. All right, number
six.
Number 6. Perfect day scheduling.
My favorite subject, scheduling.
I know. This is definitely one of my favorite features in Dentrix, and it is so underutilized. And I think a lot of offices, they start to dabble in perfect day scheduling, and then usually what happens is they have team members that just ignore it, you know, and then they schedule over the top of the blocks. And you know, so when we look at perfect day scheduling, let me go to an empty day here. I think I started doing it here. Whoops, there we go. So perfect day scheduling is such a fantastic way to block out your schedule so that you have, it helps with meeting your new patient numbers because you are holding that time, that open time for new patients. It also helps you stay on time, helps you meet production goals. And I mean, perfect day scheduling is just such a wonderful thing. And the more that you can get it mapped out the way you want it, then it just leaves a lot less room for error. You know, when I was in my practice, I had my entire day was mapped out. So there was no room for error. And so I mean, anybody on my team, including my doctor, could schedule an appointment because he could see all the blocks. He knew where everything should go. And I think that's another good thing for your team is it allows some more freedom for the rest of your team to schedule. So you'll see here, I have 2 blocks on this day. I have a new patient block, which is in red at 8 o'clock to 9:30. And then across that, over in the hygiene schedule, I have a block from 8 to 9:30 as well for SRP, so scaling and root planing. So I think it's where I usually would start when I'm mapping out the schedule is first put in all your new patient blocks, because we really want to find those places where is the best, most appropriate places for our new patients. And also, if you have a goal of 2 new patients per day, then you better have 2 blocks in your schedule for 2 new patients per day. And so the way we put in the blocks, so after you get your new patients in there, then I think you can start to horizontally across your schedule look and see, where could I put my doctor for treatment? Where could I put my scaling and root planing? Where can I put my crown seats? Things like that. So the way the blocks get into Dentrix is through the provider setup right here. So what we do is we say, okay, well, for our DDS2, we're going to go into setup, and let's say that I'm going to add a new block for Tuesdays for my DDS2, which would be for like high level restorative or operative treatment. So it might be like crown and bridge, crown and bridge. And that's going to be on Tuesdays from 8 a.m. to, let's say, 10 a.m., 2 hours. So the first 2 hours of his day should be, you know, a big production block. And I'm going to say that's an OP2. So see how you kind of put that, and then you could give it a color. So let's say his color is going to be blue. So then what happens is you put that block in there, and then it shows up something like that. So the easiest way to start this, if you haven't done it yet, is to go out to next year, so you have kind of a blank canvas, so you can start filling in where your new patients should go. You know, if your doctor does surgeries and he wants to do surgeries first thing in the morning, then map out all his surgeries, and then start plugging in where your crown seats will go, or your single fillings. So make sure you put in the big stuff first, so that you get that mapped out first, and then start plugging in your smaller stuff, your less productive appointments. And then as the day comes, you'll see where you could plug in emergency time.
And I have a couple of comments and thoughts on that, because I love that. I teach, you know, block scheduling, productive scheduling, you know, perfect day scheduling when I'm speaking. Couple things on that. First is the team has to follow it, though. So it's very easy to kind of override that and go, oh, I'll just stick an emergency right in the middle of this production time at 9 a.m. And then it's not being followed. So training is huge on this. Anybody. Absolutely. Yeah, because it's not just there as a nicety, it's really there to build the perfect day. So just a little plug for Front Office Rocks. I mean, we do training on scheduling, and we're actually launching a mastery program specific on scheduling, because to build a perfect day, you really have to kind of know how to put together a perfect schedule. And so, so you want to make sure that everybody's trained on it. And then you also want to make sure that everybody's trained on the verbal skills, because if you know you have a new patient spot at 8 a.m. and a patient goes, but I want to come at 9, but we know the spots at 8, you need to have the right verbal skills to be able to get the patient to come in at 8. So just my kind of training side note on that. It's great when it's in there, but if it's not being followed and the team's not trained on it, then it doesn't really work well in the practices.
I agree. And another thing is, you know, whenever I train on block scheduling, I always make sure the entire team is involved in that training, because a lot of times it's the hygienists that schedule over the top of the blocks. And so I make sure that the entire team is involved with the training, that we're all, and then we do an all hands in, you know, like you see basketball teams before they go out onto the court, they put their all hands in, and everybody has to agree that we are all hands in with perfect day scheduling.
It's actually funny you said about hygienists. I find doctors tend to just be like, oh, go ahead and stick somebody in there. And it's like, well, if you put them in the middle of that, it's going to mess up the rest of my day. So are there a number? How many blocks are allowed per each provider per room? Is there a limit, or is it just open time? Or
there's only 6 allowed per provider per room. And so sometimes you have to get a little creative with some of your other providers. So I don't get too overly concerned about who the block is scheduled with. Like this says DDS2 and this says DDS1. Be more concerned about what the description of the block is, or make sure that you learn what the color of the block is. So make sure like all your new patient blocks are the same color, all your restorative crown and bridge blocks are the same color, your surgery blocks are the same color, so that you start to identify the color for what should go there, rather than, you know, what the provider ID is on the block.
One of the things I teach or like to teach is the color for primaries. So your large production appointments, the ones that are going to hit your goal sooner, is to make it green, because that's the same color as money.
There you go. That's a great idea.
How many, actually, to expand on that, then it's green for primary, orange for secondary, smaller appointments, and brown for anything that has no dollar value, because brown's the same color as something else. And so if you have an all brown day, it's not a good day.
No, that would be a pretty, you know what, day for sure.
Exactly. Are there a limit to how many operatories you can add, like how many columns?
Well, once you start having more operatories than like 10, then it starts to shrink the size of the treatment room. So I would definitely create different views if you have more than 10 operatories.
Okay. And so if a doctor uses 2 columns, can you do perfect day scheduling with 2 columns for one doctor?
Yes.
Okay. So definitely want to, and one of the things Dayna and I didn't mention, but with Dentrix, along with a lot of the other softwares too, is that there's support for you, not only Dayna and myself, but also, you know, get on with Dentrix support and get help too if you're in this area, because the more you learn of how to be able to maneuver this area, the better it's going to work for your practice. So make sure that you get the training needed.
Absolutely. There's so many resources out there that you can tap into.
Perfect. All right, good.
All right.
Great. Thank you.
All right, number 7 on our list is goal tracking. And so in the Dentrix schedule, we have a calendar in the upper left corner of our appointment book. And you'll also notice there's a scheduled production tab at the top of our little calendar. So you can see, let me grab my little writing tool. I like this little draw tool thing. You'll notice right here in the middle, see where it says monthly goal?
Yep.
So we can add the monthly goal for our providers, and then we can see, are we at goal? Are we behind goal? You know, where are we at for the day? Where are we at for the month? And I think that a lot of offices forget that this is here, or just don't know that it's available. And so I think goal tracking is extremely important in our practices, because most doctors do have some kind of a production goal per day or a production goal per month. And so it's up to the team members to track that goal and make sure that they're doing that on a regular basis. So let me clear this drawing here. Clear. There we go. All right, let me show you how to get the goals into the computer. So if you go to the office manager and the big brown chair, go to analysis, practice, and then go to setup, goals right here. All right, so first thing we want to do is select a provider for our goal. And so if we click on Dennis Smith, our main doctor, and you click on read selected goals, you'll notice that I have a goal in here for August for him. If I want to add September, I could put in month number 9. Let's say month number 9, his goal is $20,000. He doesn't work very many days, so he doesn't produce very much. Then you could also go in here and add in your goal for your hygienist. Let's say that Sally, we're going to add her goal for August, and her goal is $10,000. And we're going to add in her goal for September is maybe $8,000. They're working less days in September. So what you would have to do is, if your doctor only gives you a monthly goal, you know, maybe he says, we have to produce $100,000 a month, then it is important to either break that goal down to your separate providers, or put that $100,000 goal maybe on the doctor's provider ID, or if you have a corporate, like your practice name, you could also put the goal on the practice name. But this is how you add the goals. And then you have to make sure that in your Dentrix appointment book that you can see the goals in the view. So if you click on view, and so for our view here, view number 1, we want to make sure that we've got our providers selected and that we have this one right here. See where it says view amount? We want to see that. And then we have our active providers listed here. Sometimes in your practice, you may have some inactive providers listed here. Make sure that you've only selected your active producers in your practice. And so then you'll see production goal. Now you'll see the monthly goal for August. And then here's your monthly goal for September. In my test database here, I've got nothing scheduled in September, but I do have a goal of $20,000. And then for August, my goal is $10,000 for the month, and I'm at 5601. So I'm short by $4,399, $4,400. I'm short for the month.
That's great.
Yep. And then you'll also see up here in the upper right corner, see where I circled that number right there? That's what you have scheduled on your appointment book for that day.
And can you show us again how you highlight the active producers when you're doing that for the goal?
Yes. So when you go to your view right here, so the view is, remember I said if you have like more than 10 columns, you probably want to filter down your view. So you can select, like I've only selected operatories 1 through 3. So I only see 3 operatories instead of all 8. You could also, then you select your active providers up here in the upper left corner.
Can you name the views, or are they just the way they are, 1, 2?
They're just the way they are. And okay. the reason they're like that is because F1 correlates to the F1 key on the keyboard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So you can switch between your views using the F1, F2, F3, F4 keys on the keyboard.
That's great. So you can have a view of the whole practice, or if you're the assistant and you just have your doctors you want to look at or your operatories, then you can switch to the other view.
Yeah, a lot of times in the hygiene rooms, I'll just create a view just for the hygienist. And so they can see their goal and their production that they have scheduled, so they can keep track of their own statistics.
That's awesome. We had somebody who said they never knew that. So you're showing new stuff. Thanks, Dayna. That's awesome.
Yay. I know. Awesome. Okay. The next one, number 8, this one's super easy. It's the more information button. And it's available in lots of different places in Dentrix. So many of you may know the more information button because it's on the toolbar. You'll notice it on, let me see, why is it not? So I use it a lot when I'm scheduling patients. So for example, if you just double click anywhere in the appointment book and you click on this more information button down here in the lower left corner of your search, your patient search window. Let me pull up a patient here. And if I want to say like for Cooper, I'm going to click on more info. So then it shows you a little bit more about the patient. Let me pull up a patient that actually has other family members. So see how the more information button pulls up Brent and Shirley Crosby. So you can see if I click on Brent, it shows me Brent's appointments right here in the middle. It also shows me Brent's continuing care and if he is scheduled or not scheduled. And then if I click on Shirley, it shows me Shirley's appointments here, and it shows me if Shirley is scheduled for her continuing care. And then it shows you a little bit about their addresses and telephone numbers and things like that. But I love this more information button because it shows you the whole family on one screen, and you can flip through each family member and see when their next appointments are.
So we have a question about HIPAA. Is there a way to do it so that we can only do it by initials or some HIPAA compliance way?
Well, this is all internal, you know, so this is usually you're doing this internally, like patients don't see this.
So you're having, you mean like at the front desk or somewhere when they're walking up, they're not behind your computer.
No, this is something that you would be using at your own desk, like, you know, if you're scheduling a patient or something. Yeah, the patients typically don't see this.
So what about like in the operatories? I mean, the one thing, I have a couple people asking about this, and the one thing that we have with HIPAA to make sure that everybody understands is we do our best to try to protect patients' privacy, but we still have to be able to have operations of running the dental office.
Absolutely, yeah. So we would go back to the view if you want to talk about HIPAA for a second. So you'll notice on my appointment book view, I do have phone numbers that are listed here. Yeah. So when we go to view, so like let's say we want to make the F2 view our HIPAA compliant view. So we can take the phone numbers off the appointment book. So we could say, you know, don't show me anything except the patient name. I'm going to take off all their protected information off the appointment book. So I'll take this phone number off, you know, so we can clean up the view so that we can take off any of the protected identifiers.
Can you also take, so I'm thinking, because somebody's asking about that specifically, I'm thinking like in a consultation room, if I'm looking for an appointment and I don't want to show, I can even take the patient name off, correct?
You could take the patient name off if you wanted to, for sure.
Yeah. So because I'm thinking at the end of a consult, if I'm trying to schedule somebody and I want to look through the day, I don't want to show patient information. I would just take the name off and just show the appointments that are scheduled. Yeah,
definitely. You can definitely take the names off the appointment book if you want to. You can also edit the hover so it doesn't show any protected information as well. So there's lots of ways that you can protect patient information.
Perfect. What about for the info button? Can you add anything else to the info button, or is it set by Dentrix?
It's set by Dentrix. It's all hard coded. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So if we click on this see the more info is also on the appointment, so you can see the different family members. You know, where I find this comes into play is a lot when, like, if you're working the collection manager report or something, and the mom says, oh yeah, I want to pay my bill, but can you also tell me when my kids are scheduled, you know? So it's nice that you can pull up this screen that's more information and you can say, oh yeah, you know, it looks like Daniel is scheduled on July 17th. And, you know, so it's just nice that you can kind of see the whole family on one screen.
And someone mentioned that they love to add a journal entry from that more information too. I love that you can.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great idea. Anytime you can add a journal entry is beautiful.
Yep, definitely. Okay, great. That's awesome. I think and there's no way to, I know we were there's a couple questions about privacy, and I know we said you could take the name off. There's no way to get patient initials though, right? Just to have the initials and the name.
We cannot do initials. Dentrix will allow preferred name or just full name, either preferred name only or full name.
Okay.
And so, yeah, but just make sure you take off all the other stuff like the phone number and the social security number and things like that. So the name alone is not protected, but the name with another identifier is then protected. So we have to remember that we don't want to put the name along with something else like a phone number, a birth date, social security number.
Okay, got it. Okay, great, thank you.
All right, number 9, create a batch of primary dental claims. I know this sounds like super remedial and everybody should know how to do this, but I am shocked that offices don't know that this icon on the toolbar, if you click on it, it will batch up I'll batch up all your claims in this date range. So if you pick this date range, I would recommend either at the end of the day, this is like a double checker. This is like a second pair of eyes looking into your system and seeing and checking, did you miss any claims today or this week? So you could either do this as a daily checker, or you could say, show me everything from last week, you know, so you could say the 15th through today, and do like a week at a time. So this is just a second pair of eyes looking through your system and seeing if there's any claims that we did not batch up on the ledger that still need to get sent off to insurance. So it just found one claim, but sometimes I'll go through this with an office and it'll find like 20 claims that got missed. So that's a really good.
Yeah, that's great, because there are just, sometimes you go back and look at an account and you're like, why was this never submitted to insurance? So it's a great way to just double check yourself.
I agree, for sure.
So someone asked, how is that different than procedures not attached to claims? Is it the same?
It is different. It is different. Procedures not attached means that it finds a certain procedure code that did not get included to a claim. For example, it might find like crown seat, which you didn't want to go on a claim anyway. It could find the toothpaste that you sold to the patient yesterday, you know, that you really didn't want to send. So sometimes that procedure is not attached will find stuff that you really didn't want to send anyway. And that's why I like this batch a little bit better, because it doesn't look at things that, you know, you've marked as do not send. So
okay,
yeah,
that helps.
All right, last one.
Can we do drum roll? Number 10.
Drum roll. We have 2 minutes. The last thing is that I really love, and not everybody uses it, is in your procedure code setup. We have the opportunity to make the descriptors on our procedure codes a little bit more patient friendly. So it's called patient friendly descriptions. You know, so if you, in Dentrix, if you go into your procedure code and you want to give your procedure code a little bit more like user-friendly description, then you can change this patient-friendly description, because this description comes from the ADA book. You know, it comes from the ADA description. And so it's sometimes is not, patients just don't understand what it is. This one, you get to decide what it says. Another thing that I've had offices use this patient-friendly descriptions for is if you're in a demographic area that has a high Spanish-speaking community, or you have patients in your practice that speak a different language, this patient-friendly description can be really helpful. So this patient-friendly descriptions will show up on the patient's treatment plan estimates and also on their billing statements. Okay.
So it goes treatment plan and billing statements. It doesn't change. Does it change anything in the appointment book, or is that still the description from the code?
Yeah, the description on the appointment book is right here.
Got it. That's great.
And,
I would love, yeah. I think that's great, especially like you said, for offices that maybe have a second language.
Exactly. Yeah, it's great for that.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and that was it. That's our top 10 for today.
That was a lot. You did it right in an hour too. I'm super impressed. So I want to thank Dayna. Thank you so much. It's been actually, honestly, years since I've worked in Dentrix. So it's great to, you know, there was a lot I learned here. A lot of people on this webinar are telling me thank you to you, and they learned a lot. For everybody, if you need to reach out to either of us, Dayna's putting her contact information up there. Dayna is amazing and is my go-to for everything Dentrix. And so if you guys have more questions, I'm sure she's there to help. Some of you guys had questions that we didn't get answered, and I've let you know Dayna's going to reach out to you afterwards. She will answer those. And I suggest, actually, somebody just mentioned that their office did a lunch and learn over this, and they had a bunch of people in on this. So this would be something you need to go back and show to your whole team. This will be recorded. We will save it on YouTube. So this might be something that if you found value in it, you could go back and send it to or show your whole team. So thank you, Dayna. We appreciate it. Dayna and I've recruited her to do another one with us if we get enough interest. So we're hoping to do another one in a few months. So if you guys will put some comments in and let us know what you want to talk about, what area you'd like to dig more into, I think Dayna would be more than happy to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. This was our first one. So this was our inaugural webinar together. And I think that, you know, we learned a lot, and I think, yeah, just let us know what topics you want. If there's something in this top 10 that you like, that you want to hear more about, we can definitely expand on that. And we'll use, you know, Laura's philosophy on dentistry and kind of mold our ideas together.
Perfect. Well, thank you. So if anybody needs to reach out to Dayna, there's her information. Again, I'm Laura from Front Office Rocks. You can find me at frontofficerocks.com. We do all front office training, everything from answering the phones to all of the fun stuff. And then Dayna's your go-to for Dentrix training. And of course, she's ran an office and has lots of experience too. So together we're here to help you. Thank you, everybody. It's been an hour. We hope that you guys have a great day and you enjoyed this webinar. And if you have anything, please reach out to us. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.